Hi, myself Kishflal CPA. Today my topic is on certain red flags. Those can attract a 1099 payroll audit. 1099 payroll audit is just to examine a particular employer or company if they are following correct classification for their workers. Worker should be W-2 employee or should be 1099 workers, and for this factor payroll audit is to examine these kind of facts. I cannot discuss all the red flags because red flags are different for different employer, but I am discussing only few common type of red flags. Those can make even sense to you also, and you can be alerted from those red flags if you are dealing with 1099 workers. Sometimes employer think, and sometimes worker also think, if they agreed in writing that a particular worker is ready to work, is going to accept a job on 1099, and if this contract is in misclassification, he's supposed to be W-2 employee, but by writing, but agree. Suppose one worker is not getting job, employer is offering only 1099 job, and if he agreed that I am ready to work as a 1099 contractor, and employer think employer is a fine, this is not the true, because in writing even misclassification doesn't work. Suppose there is a dispute between employer and the worker, and dispute goes to serious stage, and certain complaints and certain agencies, if dispute go to certain agencies, then those complaints can attract the payroll audit to the particular employer. When 1099 worker applies for unemployment or disability, sometimes 1099 workers actually don't know they are not qualified for unemployment. They are out of job, and they think they can apply for unemployment, or they can take the chance by applying unemployment or disability for which they are not eligible. Then this kind of claims go to the labor department or state department, and they figure out that this worker should be on W-2 instead of 1099. If he has to get unemployment allowance, then he must be on a W-2, and they feel that the particular particular worker is misclassified, and they can render the order to the employer. When 1099 workers find he has to pay a lot of taxes instead of getting refund. Usually at the time of tax filing, all W-2 employees are supposed to or used to take the refund from IRS for overpaid taxes, or they pay very little tax. But 1099 worker are not getting any refund, rather he has to pay a lot of taxes. This situation bothers him a lot. Then he find out actually the reason that he is paying the taxes because he is misclassified by the employer, and employer did not take any taxes from his 1099. Then he make it huge and make it worse for the employer, and can take this issue to any extent, or that can result in the audit. When worker finds employer is saving his part of taxes, sometimes worker is also angry because by getting 1099, actually by giving him 1099, actually his employer is saving his part of matching taxes like social security, Medicare tax. Employer is contributing in case of W-2 employee, but 1099 has to pay this tax also from his pocket. This thing bother a worker a lot. Then he raise the issue with the employer, or he can raise the issue with the employer. Sometimes he knows it, sometimes he don't know it, because taxes are of very complex situation. Some layman people cannot figure out in the beginning that by getting 1099 he has to pay lot of taxes from his pocket. So he can raise this issue with the employer or with any agency. If he raises such issue with any agency, that can attract a payroll audit. When 1099 worker get audit his personal tax or Schedule C tax audit. 1099 workers, what they do sometimes, some workers are not much sensible. They claim lot of expenses on their 1099 income for which they are not eligible. Those are not related to his job or profession or self-employment position. And if they get audited by IRS for their tax return, for their business and loss tax return, an examiner can find out that actually this worker is misclassified. The worker should be W2 employee, not 1099 worker. In this situation, the examiner can disallow all his claimed expenses and give him a high bill of tax due. At same time, he can render the audit to the employer who gave him a 1099 instead of W2. Then next is when 1099 worker files form SS8, IRS form for getting classification. What IRS did, they developed a form named SS8. If there is any confusion by the employer or by the worker, whether a particular person should be W2 employee or 1099 contractor, they can file a SS8 form with the IRS for determination. Then IRS determined his status of employment. This form can be filed by the employer and can be filed by the worker if they are not clear about the employment status and they are confused confused whether a particular person should be treated as a W2 employee or he is a good 1099 worker. This form can be filed before hiring any person. That is much better if there is any confusion. Or this form a worker can file later on also. This form can be filed for number of years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, something. And when this form is filed, this is very crucial form. This is a little lengthy form. If suppose some worker file is, then IRS can and IRS figure out that actually he is not W2, he is actually W2, not 1099 worker. IRS can render the full-fledged audit to the employer or to the companies. And if they actually determine that there are more than one person who are misclassified as a 1099 worker, the company get a hard time. Company can get like heavy penalties, back taxes, and lot of amendment returns, prior years amendments. And this form is a really complicated. The process is really result oriented, and usually SS8 form can result a very big audit, very full-fledged audit also. When 1099 worker gets both 1099 and W2 from same employer, there is no restriction that same employer cannot issue both documents. One person can get both document, 1099 and W2 also. There is no restriction. Suppose there is some admin clerk in some company. He is a regular employee, W2 employee, but he is a plumber also. And there is a problem in a company, plumbing problem in the company. He fixed the problem for spending some overtime, so spending some weekend, and he can get 1099 for his plumbing job and he can get W2 for his regular job. But still, I think it is a point of red flag, because that can attract the attention of the agency why same people is getting W2 and 1099. When same worker is getting 1099 continuously for several years. Suppose there is some employee or any employee, he has been hired for 100,000 example per year, per annum, but he is getting continuously every year he is getting 100,000. Then that can make it cautious to examination agencies that there is a case of a wrong classification or misclassification that can attract the audit also. When company has a majority of 1099, suppose there is a company, there is an employer, he has all the employee on 1099. There are no W2 employees, or there is a very few W2 employees. Then agencies can get alerted. What is the reason? He has regular duties, he has regular jobs, and he has a regular type of employment, but all are 1099s. And why there are only few W2 or none of them? So this is a point for audit. When 1099 worker claim lot of related business expenses, as I said before, there are 1099 workers who are classified, or in misclassification, those are classified as a 1099 worker, means self-employed or contractor. And when they file their personal tax return, they put a lot of expenses which are not related to their self-employment purpose, and those can attract to the audit if they are also audited, or otherwise they can also attract the audit. This factor, claiming lot of business expenses, can be the reason of audit. If one worker complained, suppose there is a dispute with one worker, and one worker complained to any tax agency or any agencies, instead of addressing the complaint of one person, agency can render the full-fledged order to the company or employer. This can be also a high-end audit by only one worker complaint, or officers or anything. They can, it is their discretion. If they can want to address only one complaint, that they can address one complaint, or they can attract the full-fledged audit to the same employer. This is my disclaimer. This is all my layman discussions, no legal advice. And you can explore more about the red flags and my thanking note. Thanks for listening. Sorry for technical deficiencies. We'll release next video soon. Keshavlal, CPA. Thank you. Bye.